We've talked previously about the pros and cons of teaching with an online ESL company. If you've decided, yeah, I really want to go ahead and get started in the industry, then online ESL companies are the right foundation starting point. So the next logical step is, okay, which company do I apply to? And this is what we're going to talk about in today's session. How do you actually choose the right ESL company to work with? Hi friends, my name's Catherine. I'm from the OET. I help people, especially mums, start and succeed with an online ESL teaching career that they can do working from home around their families. Today's session, we are talking all about how to choose the right ESL company to work with in the beginning. For now, I am not going to list specific companies to work with because that might be what suits me. It might not be the best recommendation specifically for you, what you're looking for, who you want to teach, and your circumstances. So this session is not highlighting particular companies within an industry. It's more of an overview supportive session to show, okay, this is what you need to think about to help you make an informed choice that best suits your circumstances. So number one, I want to just cover that there is no best teaching platform out there. What works for one person might not necessarily work for you. So there's different factors that you need to consider based on your own circumstances and situation of what company might suit you. So you need to think about location, for example. Whereabouts are you in the world? Certain companies do not hire from certain countries. For example, if you're a non-native English speaker, there are certain companies that only hire native English speakers from, say, America or Canada. So those companies are a no for you. So you need to think about, am I in a location that this company is going to hire from? Next, you need to think about your availability. Can you offer peak times that the company is looking for teachers? So when we talk about peak hours, what we mean is that the students that are with that company, when they are mostly booking classes. If you're wanting to teach children, as an example, children often are taking classes after school and on weekends. Those are the peak times because, of course, the majority of children do attend school, so they're not available throughout the day. So they would be taking classes after school in an evening and on the weekend. Depending on the student's location will also vary as to the time zone difference. So if you're teaching somebody in a different country to yourself, then it might not be your evenings and weekends that they're available. That could be early morning for you. So that's something else you need to consider. When am I willing to teach? What is my availability? Crossed with when are students booking classes? Because if you're offering availability, let's say at 10 o'clock at night, but you want to teach children, they probably are in bed. They're probably not booking classes at 10 o'clock at night, right? So you need to match up your availability with what the students with that company are wanting as well. So think about those two things. They're really important: location and the availability that you can offer. Then we want to take a look at your situation and what you're interested in. Are you wanting to work full-time or part-time hours? Again, can you offer peak hours with that company? And it's okay if you can't, but a lot of companies will prioritize applications who can offer peak hours. If you can't offer all the peak hours, that's okay. You could offer just a couple or none if that's what works with your schedule. But just know that your application may not go to the next stage, but also that it's less likely, or it might take a longer time for the company to fill your hours because there's less demand during those hours. Something else to think about is, are you wanting a lot of structure in the beginning or flexibility? And this could be, are you wanting structure where you say, I want to teach at 9 o'clock every day? Then the company would book you 9 o'clock every day. and you'll probably see regular students, which are students that you would see at 9 o'clock every single week, same time every week. Are you wanting structure in terms of the curriculum is provided for you and is onboarding training that shows you exactly how the company wants you to teach that curriculum? There's no flexibility in the materials that you use. Or are you wanting extra flexibility? Perhaps one week you can offer 10 hours in that week, but maybe the next week, due to your current work schedule, you can only offer 5 hours. So that is something that could be flexible. And some companies are okay with you managing your own schedule, where you open and close your own booking system with the company. And then when you've opened a class, they then book a student with you. Or, like we talked about with the curriculum, are you wanting flexibility in how you teach? Do you want to teach using materials that you found or created yourself? Are you wanting flexibility to use the company's curriculum as you see fit with that student? Maybe you don't want to go through X amount of slides per lesson. Perhaps a student's struggling with something and you need to spend more time on one particular slide. Is the company flexible with you doing that? Because a lot of companies aren't. So these are what I mean by structure and flexibility. Those are things that you need to consider before then choosing which company to apply to. The next thing we want to think about is platform features that could be good for beginners. So we want to think about, do they provide pre-made lessons? Because the majority of us starting out as an online ESL teacher haven't come from a teaching background, haven't experienced teaching online before, do not have experience with language learners. So a lot of us, when we start out in the ESL industry, we want lessons done for us. We want a curriculum pre-made so that we can preview it before the class, know what we're going to teach, and then use that within the lesson. We don't want to try and find materials online or create our own when we don't understand what our student level is, what is our student needs yet. We haven't got that level of knowledge so far. So a really good platform for beginners are companies that already have the lesson materials made ready for you to use in the classes. Something else that's really important is companies setting clear expectations right from the beginning. So a lot of companies do this, which is great. It's really important that you know as a teacher, okay, what hours is this company going to provide for me? What platform am I going to be using to teach on? What fines are there if I am a no-show to class, or I'm late to a class, or I've had a technical failure where my webcam hasn't opened, for example, or my computer's broken and I can't attend class? It's really good to have these expectations laid out for you in the contract, or sometimes even the companies will list it on the website as to the tech requirements, qualifications that they want their teachers to have, experience they want teachers to have, and that helps you align with the right company. What's less important early on in the beginning is applying for companies based on their pay rate. And I know we all want to achieve the highest pay rate possible because it pays our bills at the end of the day, right? Like, I totally get that. But when you're working with a company and you're just starting in the industry, you haven't got experience before to offer, maybe you're just gaining your TEFL qualification, so you don't have a lot of background knowledge to give and experience to show in your demo lesson, so you're not going to achieve the highest rate in the industry anyway. So it's better to apply for companies that align with your values, what you're looking for, your availability, are actually hiring teachers who don't have experience, rather than only applying for those with the highest possible rate, because it's likely that you're going to be rejected anyway by those companies, because the higher rates usually are for more experienced teachers with at least 2 years of teaching ESL online experience, who are creating the curriculums and doing a lot more work per hour versus those entry-level jobs. Also, don't rely on bonuses and incentives only as well when you're applying to companies, because a lot of the time you'll find in your contracts that the bonuses and incentives are just that. They are a bonus, they are not a guarantee. So if a company's saying, okay, we'll pay you $8 per 25-minute class, so that's $16 an hour if your hour is fully booked. And then if you offer 100 classes per month, then we'll give you an extra dollar per class. So then that would be $17 an hour. Just because they've stated this does not mean that they'll actually keep to their word. And also they can take away those bonuses just like that. So one month you might have achieved the bonus. The next month, maybe they've got rid of the bonus because too many teachers are earning it. You never know. So you cannot apply for companies based on bonuses and incentives alone. It has to be what logically aligns with what you have available to offer, as well as the company's student base and whether they're providing the curriculum or not as well. So a couple of common traps that beginners do struggle with or get sucked into is applying for too many platforms at the same time. Now, I know if you've listened to any of my other sessions before that I do recommend working with at least 2 or 3 companies on the go to give you that security, because anything can happen with the online ESL world. However, what I'm not recommending is applying to 100 companies at the same time, because that's just too much to track. How are you going to know which company is which, and which one has replied to you, which one are you have you completed a demo for but you're waiting for feedback? It's a lot at one time, and that's exhausting to manage. Even if you have like a really organized spreadsheet, that's exhausting all in one go. You want to move into this industry gently, so just apply for a few companies each week, track those companies, and then when you are gaining interview and demo invites, you're not having 10 in 1 week, because that is a lot to make sure that you have prepared for each one adequately, but also turning up knowing what it is that you're going to teach for that particular company, instead of confusing company B's demo lesson with company A, for example. So don't apply for too many platforms all at the same time. I know you're really wanting to get into the industry and be hired with your first job, but don't overwhelm yourself in the beginning. Something else that's really important to mention is not comparing yourself to experienced teachers. So other teachers' journeys are completely different and unique to your own. You are your own person with your own background in whatever industry you come from, and you're brand new to teaching ESL online. So where you're at now is completely different to where an experienced teacher who's like 5-10 years into the industry is going to be at, and their classes will be completely different, their knowledge will be completely different, their interests will be completely different. So the only person I want you to compare yourself to is you. So compare yourself to where you were at, to where you're at now, to where you're going to be in a month, in 6 months, in 2 years down the line. Reflect back on your own journey and how you've grown, and if there's anything that you want to improve on as well. Don't compare or get sucked into comparing to other teachers, because they're on a completely different path to you, and that's just going to suck and drain your energy, and you want to put that energy into building your own professional career. Another trap that beginners fall into is quitting too quickly. And I know we can all be guilty of this, especially when we're so excited to apply to a company, but then we get a no, and we get another no, and then another no, and rejections just keep coming in. That's actually pretty standard with any industry that you go into. You get a lot of no's before you get that yes come back. That's a company that's going to give you a chance. So to decrease the chance of a no and increase that invitation to an interview, it's really important to be applying for companies that are hiring beginners, because not all companies are. A lot of companies are asking for 1 or 2 years at least online ESL teaching experience. And if you're a beginner, you're not going to have that. Yes, you'll have transferable skills. Yes, you may have worked online before, so you can share the technical setup and skills and experience there. But in terms of teaching ESL, not so much. So again, apply for companies who are open to hiring beginner teachers and training them and offering that onboarding, because that's going to help fill your confidence a lot more and motivate you to keep going with your career than if you keep getting rejection after rejection early on because you're applying to companies that don't align with what you have to offer. So how many platforms is a good idea to get started with? Well, I always recommend aiming for being hired with 2 to 3 companies at the same time. It is important that you manage your schedule, so I suggest setting up something such as Google Calendar and color coding. So company A is yellow, company B is green, company C is red, for example. So it's very clear who you're working with on what days and what times. But when it comes to applying, then that all depends on yourself. What can you realistically manage? If you apply to 10 companies one week and then the next week you got 10 yeses and invitations to an interview and demo, is it realistic for you to attend 10 demo lessons in 1 week? And by that, I mean you're going to be spending time preparing for each demo lesson, plus attending the demo lesson, plus then awaiting for feedback or following up for feedback if you haven't had any yet. That's quite a lot of extra hours to put in. Let's say each interview and demo is half an hour, and then you're taking an hour to prepare. That's like an extra 15 hours in that week just for job interviews and demo prep and attending. That's a lot if you're already working full-time somewhere. So please, when you're applying for different positions with a company, think about what can you realistically maximum manage in 1 week. Make sure you're only doing that much. If you can only apply to 1 company a week, just be prepared that the growth will be slower until you get hired. But if that's manageable for you, that's okay. If you can manage applying for 5 different companies a week, then that's great because you'll get that faster response of a potential invitation to an interview and demo lesson. But do what is manageable for you so that you're not overwhelmed, so that it's easier for you to learn on the go and you can offer yourself time when you've completed an interview and demo that you can review, that you can reflect, how did that go? What can I improve on for next time so that I'm offered a higher rate per hour? Because companies tend to offer a rate based on how the demo lesson has gone. These are just a few tips on how to choose the right ESL company for yourself, matching up your own circumstances, your availability, your experience with what a company is asking for. And that will increase your chances of getting that yes, you are hired email, which is exciting. If you want any more support, then make sure that you check out my link below to the mini ESL teacher toolkit. It's a great starting point for beginners to the industry to get to know what teaching ESL is all about and find your first job within our job board spreadsheet as well. I'll see you in there, friends. Bye!